y'all, this is Natalie Troyer back with part 3 of my Ford Leadership Scholar video series about agriculture. Today we will hear from Ms. Karissa Jones and Ms. McKenna Bush, who will be talking to you about non-traditional jobs in agriculture. Let's get started.
I work for BASF. We are the world's largest chemical company, and I actually work in our agricultural division. So my role is I focus at the distribution level, or what we consider our channel. So we get the point from the manufacturer, which is BASF, out to those that are going to actually be applying the product.
So my name is McKenna Bush. I serve currently as the Youth Outreach Coordinator for Texas Farm Bureau, where I oversee our youth and collegiate programs. Essentially what I'm here to do is serve as outreach to groups like Texas FFA, Texas 4-H, Texas FCCLA, DECA, Boys and Girls Clubs, Boys and Girls Scouting programs, and make them aware of the opportunities that we provide through our programming to enrich students' education and what they're learning in those CTE courses or career and technical education courses.
So in my time in the ag industry, it has changed. The agricultural industry has changed as regards to the workforce. One, there are few and few farmers every day, farmers and ranchers every day. And so we're having to do more with less. With a lot of technology, we've been able to do that, right? There's actually a stat that I ran across last year that 1 in every 29 folks are involved in agriculture of some sort. And also in terms of who our consumer is, right? We really have to think about who our consumer is and what are they looking for with the different generational changes, as well as what's going on with the different technological advances that have come about in agriculture and production and for the consumer themselves.
Yeah, so I see agriculture everywhere in everything that I do. It's become really easy for me to identify agriculture in any aspect of life. And you'll have people, come up to you and say, well, you don't work in agriculture. And, I take the opportunity to explain to them that, while I don't, work in production agriculture, I represent those that do. It's in everything that we do, and it touches so many aspects of our life, from our makeup to our fuel that we put in our vehicles to the buildings that we're in. It's really easy to see how agriculture touches everything that we do. And in a workforce setting, just recognizing that, you might be working in a lab, and you're working with byproducts of the agriculture industry. And so that's kind of the broad way of when you say like in the workforce, that's how I see it. Is just if it's not an area that you're working in directly, it's something that is enabling you to do that job, or something that, you're interacting with on a daily basis. Yeah, so obviously my job is one of them. I have students, ask me all the time, like, how do I get a job like yours? Or I want your job. And unfortunately, at least in our organization, I am a team of one in the youth outreach arena, if you will. Now my colleagues are fantastic and we all help each other in all areas, but ultimately I'm the one responsible for our youth and collegiate programs. And so that is a non-traditional job in agriculture. And I already explained, how I explained that to folks that maybe don't think that it is a part of agriculture. But like I said earlier too, I mean, whether you're working in a lab, on biomedical sciences, or you're developing software for a game, or you're, working with F1 cars and in other forms of motorsport, agriculture is affecting and enabling you to do those things. And the more you understand that kind of reciprocal relationship that the industry has, the better off you'll be. So really, I think any job can be considered a part of agriculture.
Yes, there is an advantage to that. What is that advantage? The advantage is the ability to engage from a leadership level, right? If you are able to develop yourself in an organization that happens to be highly engaged in agriculture. And not to say that's the only way that you can do it, but it's kind of my preference, I guess I would say, maybe a little bit biased to that. However, it provides you the opportunities to know what's out there. FFA and 4-H both provide some of that background. If it's not only just providing you on the leadership qualities, but also the opportunities. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. One of the biggest things that I can see in regards to change in the line of agriculture is people. People understanding and the education that goes along with those people, of them understanding what agricultural is. I've mentioned before that agriculture is not just your typical, what we typical think of that's involved with a tractor or a cow or a pig, right? There are many facets of the ag industry. You've got your greenhouse and nursery division that's important. You've got your pest control. You think about public and health safety. You think about the fuel, right? Whether it is diesel or gas or being able to provide ethanol, etc. So that's all components of agriculture, as well as the fiber, the clothing, being able to clothe us and being able to provide some of those other opportunities like in soy that's in numerous different things that you touch on a day-to-day basis, or maybe some of the byproducts from some of the animals that we that are harvested outside of providing protein on our plate, but also they're components of everyday items that we might use. For example, makeup or crayons, just to give some simple examples there. So really the education on providing the why and the how to the consumer, especially as we become more and more farther removed from that generation that was actually doing production agriculture.
Yeah, so the divisions that I always talk about that are kind of the most forward-facing is our division, the organization division, and I can talk a little bit about what our division does outside of my programs, but also the government affairs division and the communications division, and then our field operations division, so kind of four. And our division, we have youth and collegiate programs, we have educational outreach, and then we have an urban outreach department that goes across the state at the major stock shows and events throughout the state with our Doorways to Agriculture trailer, which is an interactive experience for folks of all ages. And then we have our leader development department where we really focus on our membership. And so those are kind of the things that we focus on in our department. The government affairs department covers all of, addressing the priority issues that our membership has set as those priorities for the year. Our communications division, I always say, truly personifies the voice of agriculture as they, have our videos and our reels and TikToks and YouTube videos and all of these great things that truly showcase our membership and the work that they do in production agriculture and those non-traditional jobs. And then our field operations division has 19 people across the state covering each of Texas Farm Bureau's 13 districts. And they are the direct connection between a member and the county board and the county board to the state staff.
So as I mentioned, there's a stat that I saw about 1 in 29 folks touch agriculture or involved in agricultural production today. Anywhere from, think about it, we all eat at least 3 meals a day. There is someone that is needed to be able to provide that, whether it's actually providing the cow that's going to be providing the milk that's going to be turned into the cheese that's going to end up on our pizza later that day. And then you've got some examples around using soy byproducts and what that could be involved in, as well as some of the fiber that is used for clothing, right? There's a lot of touches that happen. And agriculture is truly the backbone of America. Not only America, but of the world. At the end of the day, we need food, fiber, and fuel to be able to do whatever we do from the moment that we get up to the moment that we lay our head down at night.
Yeah, so I'll use this as an example. So Senate Bill 801 passed the Texas legislature, not this past session, but the session before, which mandates that agriculture be taught in all schools on the primary level, so elementary age students. It has led us to focus more on expanding our program offerings. And then several of my programs have transitioned largely to having classroom audiences attend our events or facilitate programming in the classroom. And so we definitely see that shift as, kind of meeting the students where they are. But yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest impact in my specific line of work. Now, if you talk to some of the government affairs folks, there are things that impact their line of work every day.
Today we heard from Ms. Bush and Ms. Jones, who explained their jobs outside of traditional farming and ranching. You should have learned about how many different opportunities there are in agriculture. 1 in every 7 jobs in the US relates to agriculture in some way, and there are countless opportunities to be involved in this industry.